Welcome. Two words to the audience before we start.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Few words done?
Done. The three of us were in school when we saw Nayagan, and it hit us like a Godfather reference, Thunderbolt. We've never gotten over it since then. So huge fans of the film, and we wanted to celebrate the film. So when I asked Vetri for his questions, and Gautham most graciously agreed. So let's get on with the show. Congratulations on 35 years of Nayakan.
Thank you.
You saw the movie recently, இல்லையா? So 35 வருஷத்துக்கு அப்புறம் எவ்வளோ வாட்டி படத்தை பார்த்துருக்கீங்க, and what do you think of it today?
இவர் என்னை கம்பல் பண்ணார் அந்த படம் பார்க்க வச்சு. The picture of what it is because of so many people, especially Kamal. I think he is carrying the film totally on himself. And everybody else. I was fortunate that I had Ilayaraja, I had Thota Tarni, PC Sriram, Lennon. So I think the team was so good, and it just fell into place that, sometimes it happens, and this is one such film.
Sir, இப்போ கமல் சார் இந்த படத்தில் நடிக்கிறாருன்னு தெரியும். So was it designed a little bit for Kamal sir, keeping him in mind? And it's loosely based on Varadwaj Rangan, the Don. Have you met him?
Actually, ப்ராஜெக்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆனதே அவர்கிட்ட இருந்தது தான். முக்தா ஸ்ரீனிவாசன் ஒரு நாளைக்கு வீட்டுக்கு வந்தார். மௌனராகம் அப்போ தான் ரிலீஸ் ஆயிருந்தது. அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து கிழக்கு எதுன்னு கேட்டார். எனக்கு ஒருத்தர் வந்திருக்காரு, கையில் ஏதோ வச்சுருக்காரு, அட்வான்ஸ் தான் கொடுக்க போகிறாருன்னு நினச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். ஸோ அவர் அதில் ஒரு கவர் கொடுத்தாரு. அதில் ஒரு கேசட், ஹிந்தி VHS. இது உங்களை கமல் பார்க்க சொன்னார். இதை படம் பண்ணோன்னு அவருக்கு ஆசை, அதனால நீங்கள் பார்க்குறீங்கன்னு சொன்னார் அப்படின்னு. நான் சொன்னேன், எனக்கு ரீமேக்கில் நான் கரெக்டாக இருக்க மாட்டேன், அது என்னோடய ஸ்ட்ரென்த் இல்லை, இருந்தாலும் நான் பார்த்துறேன், பட் ஆனால் இப்படி தான் இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு. ஸோ பார்த்தேன். 15 மினிட்ஸ்க்கு மேலே என்னால் பார்க்க முடியல, ஏன்னா ஐ வாஸ் நாட் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டட் இன் ரீமேக் அட் தட் பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் டைம். ஸோ நெக்ஸ்ட் டே வந்தார். நெக்ஸ்ட் டே அதே சொன்னேன். அப்போ அவர் சொன்னார், வண்டியில் ஏறுங்க, நீங்களே இதை கமல்கிட்ட சொல்லிவிடுங்க. ஸோ இங்கேருந்து AVM ஸ்டுடியோ வரைக்கும் கூட்டிகிட்டு போனார். அங்கே ஸோ ஐ வென்ட் டு சே Kamal sir that this is not what I want to do, you do it with anybody else. And so அப்போ கமல் சார் ஷூட்டிங்கில் இருந்தார். லன்ச் டயத்தில் மீட் பண்ணோம். நல்ல சாப்பாடு, அவரோட சாப்பாடு. ஸோ அப்போது he asked me, சரி இது வேண்டாம், இது இல்லாட்டி என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டார். Opening up, doing a film with Kamal at that time was just a fantastic opening. So அவர் கேட்டும்போது I had a couple of thoughts which I had in mind. One was to do a very sleek action film, like a James Bond kind of a film. I felt that Tamil never had that. And the other was this, about Baradwaj Rangan's rise and fall. So I told him this, and he said, yeah, let's do this. Anga aranchadu. So Kamal sir vechittu da the whole project started. So every scene he was in our mind when we were writing it. Regarding your second question, மீட் பண்ணேன், மிஸ்டர் வரதராஜ முதலியார் மீட் பண்ணோம். ஃபஸ்ட்டு லொக்கேஷன் பார்க்கறதுக்காக தாராவிக்கு போயிருந்தோம், பாம்பேக்கு போயிருந்தோம். அங்கே அவரோட ஆளுங்க தான் எங்களை ஹெல்ப் பண்ணாங்க தாராவிக்குள்ளே கூட்டிகிட்டு போகிறதுக்கெல்லாம். அவரோட சன் அங்கே மீட் பண்ணேன். அப்போ we had the script had not fully developed, we were still growing. When I came back in Chennai, I got a call from him. He was here in Santhom, and he said, வருவீங்களா, மீட் பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னு. அவர் சந்திக்க போனேன். அவர் கூட இருந்த அந்த கான்வர்சேஷன் தான் படத்துக்கு கிளைமேக்ஸே எனக்கு வந்தது. ஸோ ஹீ வாஸ் இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்டல் இன் ஃபைண்டிங் அ எண்ட் ஃபார் மை ஃபிலிம்.
நல்லவரா கெட்டவரா அப்படின்ற அந்த விஷயமா சார்? இல்லை
இல்லை அப்படி சொல்ல. அவர் அப்போ அண்டர் கிரவுண்டில் இருந்தார். அங்கே பாம்பேயில் இல்லை, இங்கே இருந்தார். எங்கே இருக்காருன்னு யாருக்கும் தெரியாது. கூப்பிட்டாரு. இந்த மாதிரி போனேன். வீட்டில் உட்காந்து வச்சார். என்ன சாப்பிட்றீங்கன்னு கேட்டால் எதுவும் வேண்டாம் அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன். இருந்தாலும் தோசை கொண்டு வச்சார். வச்சுட்டு கேள்வி கேட்டார், நீ என்ன இந்த மாதிரி படம் தானே பண்ண போகிறீங்க, எங்களெல்லாம் வில்லன்னா காட்டுவீங்க. சலம் ஜாவேத்னு ஒருத்தர் வந்தாங்க, அவங்களும் இதே தான் கேள்வி கேட்டாங்க, நீங்கள் பண்ணுங்க உங்கள் இஷ்டம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிவிட்டு முதல் half an hour there was a lot of resistance. அது சொல்லிகிட்டே இருக்காரு. தோசை நிற்குது. தோசையை எடுத்து சட்னியில் வச்சு என் கையில் கொடுத்துக்கிறாரு, சாப்பிட சொல்கிறாரு. ஆனால் he was telling us a lot of things, saying that நீங்கள் எப்படி தான் நினைப்பீங்க, ஆனால் நாங்கள் வரும்போது இப்படி இருந்தோம். இப்போ கூட நீங்கள் நினைக்கலாம் நான் அண்டர் கவரில் இருக்கேன், ஒழிஞ்சிட்டு நான் பயந்துட்டு வந்தேன்னு நினைக்கலாம். ஆனால் அது அப்படி இல்லை. நான் வந்தது ஒரு காரணத்துக்காக. நான் என்னால் அங்கே போய் ஃபேஸ் பண்ண முடியும், இருக்கிற கேஸ் எல்லாம் ஃபேஸ் பண்ண முடியும். ஹி வாஸ் வெரி நாலேஜபிள். லா வந்து நல்லா தெரிஞ்சிருந்தது. he could quote sections and he knew exactly what he was doing. ஸோ அப்போ என்ன சொன்னார்னா வந்து நான் திரும்பி போகிறத பற்றி இல்லை, நான் திரும்பி போய் இந்த கேஸெல்லாம் சந்திக்க முடியும், என்னால் அது சமாளிக்க முடியும், டெஃபினட்டாக நான் ஜெயிக்க முடியும். ஆனால் என்னை வந்து இந்த கேஸுக்காக அங்கே கூப்பிடல, கேஸுன்னு சொல்லி கூப்பிட்டு நான் வரத்துக்கு முன்னாடி கோர்ட்டுக்கு போகிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே வந்து கலாட்டா பண்ணுறேன்னு க்ரௌடெல்லாம் வச்சு they will not let me get into the court அப்படின்னாங்க. So that became the climax.
ஓகே, லவ்லி சார். சார் உங்களுடைய இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நீங்கள் பண்ண பகல் நிலவு அப்படின்ற படத்தில் ஒரு டான், ஆல்மோஸ்ட் ஒரு டான் லைக் கேரக்டர் தான் சத்யராஜ் ப்ளே பண்ணியிருப்பார். ஸோ இந்த ஐடியா டிட் இட் ஸ்டார்ட் ப்ரூவிங் ஃப்ரம் தட் டைம் இட் செல்ஃப் வென் யூ மேக்கிங் பகல் நிலவு, ஒரு அந்த கமல் சார் மீட்டிங் அப்போ தான் அந்த வரதராஜ முதலியார் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு பேசுனது?
இல்லை, நான் வந்து பாம்பேயில் 2 வருஷம் படித்தேன். அங்கே நான் படித்ததெல்லாம் சர்ச் கேட் ஏரியாவில். பட் ஆனால் மாட்டுங்க மாதிரி அந்த இடத்துல வரதராஜ் முதலியார்னு ஒருத்தர் வந்து இருக்காருன்னு தெரியும். அங்கே இருக்கிற அந்த தமிழ் ஜனங்க வந்து அவரை கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு லீடர், ஒரு காட் மாதிரி, சேவியர், ப்ரொடெக்டர், அந்த மாதிரி தான் பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தாங்க. ஸோ எனக்கு அது ஐ வாஸ் ஜஸ்ட் க்யூரியஸ், அப்படிதான். ஐ வாஸ் ஒண்டரிங் ஹவு இட் வாஸ் பாசிபிள் ஃபார் சம்படி டு லுக் அட் another man as a savior when he's also in an underworld. அந்த ஷேட் தான் வந்து பகல்நிலவு வாஸ் பேஸ்ட் இன் அ ஸ்மால் டவுன். பட் கான்ஷியஸாக வந்து இவர் பேஸ் பண்ணி அதில் கொண்டு வரல. அது வந்து அந்த ரியல் டவுன், ஸ்மால் டவுனில் இருக்கிற ஒரு கேரக்டரை தான் ட்ரீட் பண்ணோம். பட் possibly the germ of the idea of trying to do something like that as a full arc, அந்த கேரக்டரை மெயினாக வச்சுட்டு பண்ணுறோங்கிற germ probably came from that.
35 years ஆயிடுச்சு இந்த படம் வந்து. நடுவில் எப்பயாவது நீங்கள் திருப்பி அந்த படத்தை பார்த்தீங்களா? பார்க்கலன்னா ஏன் பார்க்கல? பார்த்துருந்தால் வாட் டிட் யூ ஃபீல்? ஏதாவது ஒரு ஏரியா வந்து நம்ம திரும்ப பண்ணலாம், ஐயோ இது வேறு மாதிரி பண்ணியிருக்கலாமே அப்படின்னு தோணியிருக்கா? அல்லது பரவாயில்லையே நம்ம அப்போவே நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்கோம்பா அப்படி தோணியிருக்கா? வாட் வாஸ் யுவர் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இஃப் யூ ஹேட் வாட்ச்ட் இட்?
ரொம்ப வருஷத்துக்கு அப்புறம் தான் இப்போ திருப்பி பார்த்தேன் நாயகன். முடிஞ்ச வேற படம் ரிலீஸ் ஆனதுக்கப்புறம் அது பார்க்குறது எனக்கு ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்குது. ஏன்னா கண்ணில் வந்து வெறும் மிஸ்டேக்ஸ் மட்டும்தான் தெரியும். அதில் இருக்கிற பாதி சமயம் போய் சீட்டில் அப்படியே கீழே போயிடுவேன். டோன்ட் வாண்ட் டு see itங்கிற மாதிரி. ஸோ இது பார்க்கும்போதும் வந்து நிறையா பெட்டராக இருந்துக்கலாம்னு தோணுது. எஸ்பெஷலி ரைட்டிங் could have been better, dialogue writing could have been much betterன்னு தோணுது. அது ஐ ஃபீல் that has not lived up to time. கமல் சார் பேசும்போதோ, டெல்லி கணேஷ் பேசும்போதோ, இல்லாட்டி ஜனகராஜ் அவங்க பேசும்போது they are able to own it and they still sound very good. At any point of time you can always revisit a film and think of other means. But I was surprised that பண்ணும்போது எனக்கு இருந்த ஹெசிடேஷன், கொஞ்சம் மெலோட்ராமா ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கா அப்படின்னு ஒரு தயக்கம் இருந்தது அந்த படம் பண்ணும்போது. நாயக்கரோட பொண்ணு அவர்கிட்ட இருந்து கோச்சிட்டு போயிட்டாங்க. அவர் ஒரு போலீஸ்காரனை தான் கல்யாணம் பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க. அந்த போலீஸ்காரன் இந்த பாம்பேக்கு திரும்பி இதே வேல் நாயக்கரை வந்து, ஸோ அது வந்து தெரியுது வந்து கண்ட்ரைவ்டு ஸ்க்ரீன் பிளேயில் வந்து ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ண ஒரு எலிமெண்ட்டுன்னு. பட் இப்போ திருப்பி பார்க்கும்போது அது ஃபோர்ஸ் தெரியுது. பட் ஆனால் அது ஸ்டில் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த ஆக்டர்ஸ், பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த மியூசிக், பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த சிச்சுவேஷன் அண்ட் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த எமோஷனல் கனெக்ட் வி ஹாவ் in our, it suddenly just becomes a father and a daughter story and it is still effective. So you look at it in 2 ways. One, things that you can improve on. 2 is that you feel you're lucky because you've had people who could deliver it. I think with a lesser talent maybe the film won't be so true.
I really like Pagal Nilavu, but I felt Maunaragam is your first signature Mani Ratnam film. Coming from Maunaragam to Nayagan, was there any apprehension that that's a homebound relationship drama within a sort of a space? This is a epic scale kind of a film with creating almost like a township on a backlot sort of a thing. Was there apprehension as a director going into a film like that? And if you say yes, I'd really love that, sir, because we apprehensive about every film that we do, I think. So I'm not asking you to say yes because of that, but I would love to know that, I thought. Yeah.
ஆனஸ்ட்லி அப்போ வந்து கமலோட எந்த படம் சொல்லியிருந்தாங்கன்னா சயின்ஸ் ஃபிக்ஷன் சொல்லலாம் கூட பண்ணியிருப்பேன். I think it was a dream to work with somebody that talented, and it was fantastic. At that time, you know, you just think that, to me, I found Mounaragam equally difficult. You know, any film has its own difficulty, and இது வந்து இந்த ஸ்கேல்னால பர்டிகுலராக வந்து ஒரு apprehension வரல. Once you jump into it, the problem of swimming across itself consumes you. You don't look at the large picture. You don't look at how am I going to do it. You just jump into it and find a way. And also, I think as you've grown, you've seen several masters who have done several pictures with lot of details and lot of effort. You know, for me, adu pannumbodhu we had to create a period. We had to create the ambience of that, and to make it the underworld look believable, all that. Then I know there was சாம்பனிகள் முன்னாடி பண்ணியிருந்தாரு, யூனோ நிறைய படம் பூமிகா அது இது பீரியட்லாம் அப்படியே பர்ஃபெக்டாக கொண்டு வந்தது. ஸோ ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் செட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. ஸோ வி ஜஸ்ட் ஹேவ் டு எய்ம் அட் தட். வி மே நாட் ரீச் இட், but at least I had a target. I had a target that in terms of production values and in terms of authenticity, we should try that much. அது மாதிரி தான் ஒவ்வொரு சைட்லேயும், விஷுவல் சைட்லேயும் சரி, எவ்ரி சைட் we had a target to go with.
படம் எடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னு ஆசை வர்றதுக்கான காரணம் வந்து நாயகன் தான். அது ரிலீஸ் டைமில் தியேட்டரில் பார்க்குறதுக்கான ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி எனக்கு கிடைக்கல. பட் ஐ ஹேட் அ VHS டேப் அட் ஹோம். 49 தடவை பார்த்தேன் அந்த படத்தை. 9th 10th அந்த ஏஜில் பார்த்தேன் அது. அப்போது எனக்கு வந்து இவ்வளவு ஃபைனாக ஒரு ஃபில்ம் தமிழில் அது வரைக்கும் நிறைய படங்கள் வந்திருக்கு. இந்த மாதிரி சாகா பார்க்குறது, ஒருத்தரோட லைஃப் ஜேர்னியை கேப்சர் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணுறது, இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஹேஸ் மேபி ட்ரை பண்ணியிருந்திருக்கலாம். பட் எனக்கு இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்ணக்கூடிய இடத்துல அல்லது அந்த டைமில் அந்த மாதிரியான படங்களில் வரலை. அப்போது ஒரு சாகாவை நாம் சொல்ல போகிறோம், அதுக்குள்ளே என்னெல்லாம் இருக்கணும் அல்லது இதை எப்படி பண்ணணும், அந்த ஆக்டர்ஸை வந்து ஹவு டு ஐ டேக் தெம் த்ரூ திஸ் ஜேர்னி அந்த டைம்ஸில். இப்போ இன்றைக்கி வந்து இட் இஸ் டிஃப்ரெண்ட், டுடே இட்ஸ் டிஃப்ரெண்ட். கமல் சார் பண்ணிடலாம், மற்ற ஆக்டர்ஸை கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணுறது, அவங்களையும் வந்து இந்த ஜேர்னியில் கூட இருக்க வைக்கிறது, இட் வுட் ஹவ் ரியலி பீன் அ பிக் சேலஞ்ச் ஃபார் யூ. இந்த ஸ்கிரிப்டை இந்த ஸ்டைலில் பண்ணலாம். You must have had referential inspirations அங்கங்கே இருந்திருக்கலாம். பட் இந்த ஸ்டோரியை இந்த பர்சனுடைய லைஃப்பை இன்ஸ்பயர் பண்ணி இந்த இடத்துல இந்த டைமில் செட் பண்ணி பண்ணணுன்ற தாட்டு எப்போ வந்தது? டிட் யூ ஹாவ் அ லாட் ஆஃப் டைம் டு ரைட் த ஸ்கிரிப்ட் அண்ட் கோ டு த ஃப்ளோர்?
முடிஞ்ச வரை வெற்றிமாறன் சார் கேட்ட கேள்வி லெங்க்த்தை தாண்டி பதில் சொல்ல ட்ரை பண்ணுறேன். இதை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டிஃபிகல்ட்டி என்ன இருந்ததுன்னா வாஸ் அ சப்ஜெக்ட். இன்னும் அதுக்கு முன்னாடி மௌனராகம் பண்ணும்போது அந்த தாட் உருவாகும் போதே அதோட எண்டும் சேர்ந்து உருவாகுது. இன்னும் ஒரு 2 பேர், அரேஞ்ச் மேரேஜு, ரெசிஸ்டன்ஸு அண்ட் அக்செப்டன்ஸ். ஸோ வென் த தாட் கம்ஸ் இன், த ஹோல் பிக்சர் இஸ் தேர் அண்ட் தென் யூ டெவலப் இட். இதில் வந்து ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது எங்கே முடியும்னு தெரில. இது இவரோட லைஃப்னு ஆரம்பித்தோன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, எப்படி ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரில. ஸோ அது வந்து கம்ப்ளீட்டாக it was a new thing for me. I didn't know how to go about it. இது பண்ணணும்னு ஆசான எப்படி பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரில. அது வேறு கமல் சார் சந்தித்தது வந்து மேபி ஆகஸ்ட் செப்டம்பர் அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கலாம். அவர் வந்து நான் வந்து அப்போ அக்னி நட்சத்திரம் எழுத ஆரம்பிச்சிருந்தேன். இந்த ப்ராஜெக்ட் திடீர்னு வந்ததுனால அவர் வந்து டிசம்பரில் டேட் கொடுக்குறாரு. நோ ஐ ஹேட் 2-3 months அண்ட் to come up with something like that. And இது வந்து எப்படி பண்ணுறதுன்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. ஸோ it was done step by step. Like I was telling, when I started the film, I didn't have a climax. இது எப்படி எங்கே போகும்னு தெரியாது. ஏன்னா ஒருத்தரோட லைஃப்பை ஃபாலோ பண்ணி வேரியஸ் ஸ்டேஜஸை கொண்டு போக வேண்டியிருந்தது. ஸோ அது வந்து உள்ளே இறங்கினதுக்கப்புறம் தான் we found a way of crossing one by one and things like that. Sometimes when the opening set of sequence, ஃபார்ம் பண்ணோன்னா வந்து இந்த பிசி ஸ்ரீராம் கிட்ட தான் சொல்லுவேன் நான் நார்மலாக ஈவினிங் போய் அங்கே வந்து வில் டேக் him out to have coffee and drive in and I'll tell him that and he'll drink the coffee, he'll have no expression and then he will say நீ சொன்னதுலேயே உருப்படியான ஐடியா இது மட்டும்தான் அப்படிம்பார். இப்படி எல்லா படத்துக்கும் சொல்லியிருக்காரு அவர். இட் வாஸ் நியூ, therefore we had to find our way as we went across. And when we started, we had one big advantage. We had the Kamal sir's complete commitment. He had moved to a phase where he was doing one film at a time. இது பண்ணும்போது இது புஷ்பக் ரெண்டு சேர்த்து பண்ணார். But mostly he was available to you, through the period. And he was ready to do anything for the film. And once you have the main person willing to walk the distance, then கூட இருக்கவங்க அவங்களுக்கு வந்து நிறையா கமிட்மெண்ட் இருக்குது, நிறையா படம் பண்ணுறாங்க. ஜனகராஜ் சார் சரி, டெல்லி கணேஷ் சரி, அவங்கெல்லாம் வந்து டு கோ த்ரூ தட் ஏஜ், டு ரிமூவ் ஹேர், டு ஏஜ் கன்வின்சிங்லி happened only because Kamal was willing to do it. They also felt that they can contribute to the film. So it was a collective effort and it happened gradually. But the main thing that we were clear of is that Kamal sir இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து ஓல்ட் மேன் ரோல் 2-3 தடவை பண்ணியிருக்காரு. And so it was always with the beard and an age and things like that. So when we asked him to that we didn't want the beard, that we wanted a clean shaven look and things like that, he was hesitant. He was hesitant because he felt, which was right, he felt that the chin, the jaw line will show the youth and it will not be convincing, so beard vechinada adu convince agum. But we had to kind of, it didn't take much, but we had to convince him saying no, that you have done before and it always looks like a get up. We wanted, and the way we had conceived the character Velu Nayakan was that he was almost introvert in his childhood, and when he grows up in the early stages he is very quiet, he resists, he quiet, and slowly through the film he blooms, he becomes this larger than life persona. And we wanted a person who comes across clean, not somebody who goes down but somebody who flourishes. And he came up with the idea that if you don't want a beard, then I'll erode into this one. And that was fantastic. So when that was possible, then the film became, visible in our eyes.
In the earlier films, even the way he walked during the younger stages versus the way he walks later, the things that he does, the gestures, the mannerisms, எல்லாமே வந்து ஒரு he also reinvented himself as an actor மாதிரி இருந்துச்சு.
I think he was in that stage of his career where he really wanted to do things which are a lot more real, which was different from what he has done. இது பண்ணும்போது கூடவே புஷ்பக் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தார். He was in that kind of a zone where he was ready to do a silent film completely. And when we did Nayakan, he said something which liberated us. He said that I don't see Velu Nayakan, singing and dancing, which took away that, that burden of having Kamala Hassan to make him dance and to do the conventional thing. So he was ready to give up all those things that he was known for or good at and be the character. So it was very easy after that when you have him, with that kind of conviction. It was easy. It was a pleasure.
You were a relative newcomer. You made 4 films before Mauna Ragam had happened. How did you and he catch that wavelength? And in the director na trust pannalam, because he's worked with many directors before. Of course, you had no doubts about Kamal, but avarku irundhirukkalamla, இவர் வந்து இவ்வளோ பெரிய ஸ்கோப் இருக்கிற படம் வந்து இவரால் ஹேண்டில் பண்ண முடியுமா? Did he ever speak to you about maybe some doubts or something like that he had, or was he from day one he just was into the whole thing?
I've known Kamal sir even before I got into films. We had friends, so I used to go. When I decided to get into films, there were a lot of evenings I've been at his compound, with a few friends, and he'll discuss films, what he was doing, Raja Parve, then he'll talk about it. So in the evening, we'll spend half an hour, 45 minutes chatting. So I've known him as somebody with whom you can bounce ideas off, I can react to what you like, and he was open to it. He was always open to youngsters, he was always open to newer thoughts. So it was not a difficult, I was not dealing with somebody who was, alien in that sense. And I think also, because he's worked with so many directors, he's confident that he can work with any director and do his stuff. So I think maybe he assessed as we started shooting, and became a part of it. This film is not this film without him.
I know you said both you and Kamal sir were happy that you could do away with the song and dance sort of routine, and that's a huge thing off your shoulder. But yet, and I'm saying yet in a very good way, sir, yet there was a Nila Adu Vaanathu Mele in the film. Was that a sort of a commercial call? There was a story within that. There was an operation that was happening, and Kamal sir is very stoic and away from Janakaraj and Kuili. But the way it was picturized and the song itself, was that like I worked with Raja sir and he has suggested inge oru song irukkalama அப்படின்ட்டு. Was it something that came up like that, or was it in the screenplay to do it like a song?
No, when I said, Kamal sir said we can do away only for that character. Vel Nayakan, for him to dance in Nila Adu Vaanathu Mele would have been a real sore thumb. And with producers saying that Kamal Hassan is known for dancing, so we have to get him to dance. That kind of pressure was taken off. Then Janakaraj's Selva character is the kind of person who can do anything. He can take him to our house, he can dance with people, he can smuggle girls into it. So that was a very liberating thing. And that song was in the screenplay, even in the beginning. And because sometimes you have this mechanics of, going across in the sea, taking a load, bringing it across, and, it just becomes a sequence without any other layer. Once you put something else, it kind of distracts it. And then the customs coming all gets as a surprise, and we are able to bring it back into the story. So that's why it was there.
Talking about the actors itself, sir, like to cast Saranya, Nazar, and even Karthika, who was very big in Malayalam, but we haven't seen her in many Tamil films, and it was not so pan-Indian at that time. Was that a very natural call to go with relatively unknown actors? Was there an audition for these characters? They're all pivotal characters, so to speak. Just want to understand that.
Yeah. I felt when you have somebody like Kamal sir, you don't need too many others to, sell a film. So that was the first thing. Second, I thought, if we are talking about a girl who's studying but still found in a warehouse, for that to be convincing, I just felt that it had to be a new person, not, you shouldn't associate with an actor and things like that. We did a test with Sharanya, and she was the first person we did a test for that role, and she was absolutely right. So it was just one afternoon, it was enough to take that decision. Kamal sir also didn't know that we did that, and she was okay. And Karthika was also, we were looking for somebody who, knew only. We didn't want an established person. So we didn't do a test with her, but we took her on.
Saranya audition பண்ணப்போ அது எந்த சீன் ஞாபகம் இருக்கா?
Probably the first scene.
And the first அவங்க மீட் பண்றப்போ. So speaking of that scene, it's a beautifully shot scene. So அந்த நான் சிரித்தால் தீபாவளி பாட்டு முடியுது, and then Kamal enters the room, closes the door, and look, there's a mirror there, and he looks at the mirror, and பின்னாடி வந்து there's the mosquito net or something like that, and she's almost crouched in a corner. The staging of that whole scene, it's just so beautiful even today. How did you know you could do it? Is that why you became a director? Because you knew you could do it? Was it always inside you, that visual sense of that visual grammar?
Actually, you don't know how you'll do it. Even now, sometimes when you go to a set and you start, you don't know how you're going to do it. It's that. And possibly, like you said, the first shot was probably because Tarani had put that mirror there. That's how the shot came. It was not, we didn't go with that particular image. Only thing that was in my mind clearer in that shot taking of that sequence was that when he sees her and he finds out about it and asks her to go and study, was where the music was supposed to start. The love theme of their story is starting. So we wanted a set of small intricate movement which will kind of build that thing up till there. There's one fantastic thing that happened at that time. So Kamal sir had come, he had taken off this one. When he's there, when he's doing the sequence, there's a bed, there's a chair, okay, and he's asked her to go and sit. And then he performs of a man, trying to decide whether he should sit on the bed, wait, or he should sit on the chair, and what he should do. I mean, it was just amazing to see an actor who's able to convert a thought into a physical action. It was just fantastic. But I had to tell him that this is where the music is coming. So I don't want, any of this is fantastic, but I don't want that. I would just want you to look at her, see absent-minded, and then take a seat. All that you're doing should be absent-minded, and we needed shots which will just convey this. We had Ilayaraja coming in there, so we didn't need anything more than him. That is all. You need a few hooks in the scene which you peg. You know that the scene is only these few shots which are built together, and then the start and the end kinds of wraps it.
You say, I knew in the part lada I wanted the music to start. You knew it in your head. How is it different from, let's say, the music starting when he closes the door and looks at her? I mean, why did you want it at that point rather than from the beginning?
Because music is telling a story. At first, a song is just finished. When he closes the door, don't want it. I mean, Raja sir will not do it. He knows how to use the pause. He's a master at it. And I've worked with him before, so to a large extent I knew how he can enhance the scene. Also, in terms of the emotion, that sequence only has he's come in as his friend has brought him, he's come into this, he's come into this room for this girl, but he finds that the girl says that she's still studying, he realizes that she's young, and something about her, the fact that she speaks Tamil, the fact that she's still so young, holds him, that relationship starts there. So the music is just kind of underlines the fact that one relationship which is going to run through starts here. So we just needed that.
I want to ask you about two favorite moments of mine in the film, sir. One is the fight sequence inside that room where Kamal sir walks in and the police officer is sitting with the woman and the beer bottle is broken on his head. And then there is a very short but intense fight sequence inside that room itself. So even recently in a film of mine, I composed a fight sequence telling the fight master that I want something like this. It inspired me so much to see short moves, jabs, sort of a thing. And the other moment is Nee Oru Kadal Sangeetham, the song itself, sir. Was it shot with the song playing on the Nagra and all of you walking around and filming? Or was it put together and then Raja sir came in with that song? So the fight sequence, how much of it was there in the script? What was the brief to Super Subbarayan at that point? And how much of him was there? How much of you were there and all that stuff?
I think the fight sequence was what had to be real because we had not shown Kamal like one, Vel Nayagan until that point of time, not shown him aggressive, not shown him, capable of taking that. The start of the fight is interesting because we had the sequence where he will be with these girls and Kamal walks in. Kamal sir had gone abroad and brought two bottles of this sugar glass things. It was not available here at that point. He had it. It was his personal thing. So he said that he will bring it, and so that with that bottle you can break it on his face and it won't hurt him. So first thing that he does, he brings it for us and uses it. And then after hitting it, he does this, which just made it, absolutely real, absolutely brilliant. So that sets the tone, and it was we were shooting in Venus Studio and it was a floor and we had dumped in some properties. It could very easily be a conventional den fight, because it had all the trappings of that. So we just wanted it to be, little harsher, little real, and for it to come out of that, not stay there all the time, come out of it, come through the crowd and things like that. I'd worked with Super Subrayan before, and we had a nice equation. So it was very easy to communicate with him and get that. Nee Oru Kadal Sangeetham was... Raja sir had finished all the composing for the songs and things like that, but the song, actual recording happened when we were shooting. So we received the song when we were shooting in Bombay. And we had the song in this one, but it was pieced together. We didn't play in Bombay streets, play the song and take the shots. We had, tried to capture his life, in pieces and things like that. And some of the pieces were possibly scenes that I had shot, which I've used in the song. And whereas all the things that are shot in the set was with that in mind, how the song will start and things like that. So it is a mixture of the two.
Beautifully done. Like even moments that had to be written, I'm saying, like when they sit and there's water leaking through the roof and they take cover, and moments like that. So I don't think it can be just created like that. There's a lot of thought.
It is
a beautiful thought that goes into it.
See, the thing is with a conventional love song is that it can get monotonous. It can be few sets of things that are, So within that, if you were able to provide life, moments which ring true. There's one other which is probably my favorite thing is that when, she's feeding him, she's giving food, and he wants her to eat, and she says no, and things like that. And he says, "Nee vattal mari bidi irukka." And he forces her. That's what he did. It was his line, it was there. So even though we don't hear it, we can hear it. And those kind of moments make the songs alive, So I think there quite a few which we got together made it alive. So it didn't necessarily shoot it like a song, but we knew that it would kind of capsule that entire, because it's a transition point. With that song, we moved to the next chapter, so we needed it to be complete.
For me, this is like a master class. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah,
I just thought I must say that. And
doing
I always
everything,
wanted to work with you, but for me, this session is more like a master class, and I'm so happy that I'm here, Barry.
ஒரு ஃபில்ம் மேக்கராக உங்களுக்கு வந்து அதில் இருந்த சேலஞ்சஸ், பிகாஸ் அந்த செட்டு, அந்த குடிசைங்கள்லாம் இருந்த அந்த இடம், அந்த ஏரியாவை வந்து கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் பண்ணது, அதுக்குள்ளே ஒரு வேர்ல்டை செட் பண்ணது. இப்போ இது மாதிரி 4-5 விஷயங்கள் இருக்குது. ஒரு ஃபில்ம் மேக்கராக அந்த டைமில் உங்களுக்கு எக்ஸிக்யூஷனுக்கு which was the most challenging aspect of the film? Every era had a style to it, and the tempo also was changing. ஸோ இதெல்லாம் வந்து கான்ஷியஸாக பண்ணதா இல்லை எடிட் டேபிளில் பண்ணதா? எந்த ஏரியா உங்களுக்கு வந்து எக்ஸிக்யூஷனில் ரொம்ப சேலஞ்சிங்காக இருந்தது? அண்ட் தென் ஐ ஹவ் ஹர்ட் ஃப்ரம் கணேஷ், விஜயன் சரோட அசிஸ்டண்ட்டு, இட் வாஸ் அ 24 ரீல் ஃபில்ம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொன்னார். அவ்வளோ பெரிய படத்தை உட்காந்து எடிட் பண்ணி வென் யூ ஃபவுண்ட் திஸ் ஃபில்ம், அந்த ப்ராசஸ் எப்படி இருந்தது? வேர் யூ டேக்கிங் சப்போர்ட் ஃப்ரம் யுவர் டீம், யுவர் எடிட்டர், யுவர் கம்போசர்? இந்த ரிடக்ஷன் ப்ராசஸுக்கு அவங்க எல்லாரோட ஹெல்ப்பும் எடுத்தீங்களா? இல்லை இட் வாஸ் ஜஸ்ட் யூ கோயிங் இன் டு யுவர் செல்ஃப் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் வாட் இஸ் எசென்ஷியல்? இந்த படத்துக்கு இவ்வளவு இருந்தால் போதும், மீதி எல்லாம் தேவையில்லைன்னு எடுக்கிறதுக்கான அந்த டெசிஷன் எப்படி வரீங்க? இன்றைக்கி பண்ணுறது ஈஸி, அது ஒரு டிஜிட்டல் எடிட் வந்து இட் இஸ் ஈஸி. தோஸ் டேஸ் இட் should have been very challenging for you. அதை எப்படி பண்ணீங்க?
Before you answer, does that footage still exist?
Definitely not. First thing a producer does after a film is complete in those days is to sell all the excess film. They make silver out of it and they make money out of it. Okay, so no extra piece of any film will be left. What was the most challenging thing? Idhuk munadi vandu I've never worked elaborately in a set. We had never constructed. We could never afford for the first time we could create a world. I was lucky Tarani was there, and we had gone to Bombay, we had taken photographs of Dharavi. So it was challenging and also exciting in the sense the film gave us a chance to look at it in over, say, 3 decades, and how we have only one space, we have only that much budget. Within that, we have to show a change, show it happening. It was challenging and still exciting. For example, there was Venus Studio, we had street அங்கே பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தோம். அங்கே ஒரு டப்பிங் தியேட்டர் மட்டும் இருக்கும். ஸோ அதை கவர் பண்ணி ஒரு பில்டிங், ஒரு ஸ்லம் இது பாட்டு போட்டு வச்சுருந்தோம். And then when the time changed, when we had to show progress, we just removed that set and the dubbing theatre became a theatre. So that kind of thing. It was exciting. And for music also, when we sat with Raja sir, the music was done for different decades. Nan Sirtal Deepavali, where we had all the old singers coming in, old this one. Throughout the film, we had only live and orchestra. No electronic. We tried without trying to recreate that period. 60s, when they wanted to do it the way, say, Lakshmikant Pyarlal would compose. In fact, that's the only song that I know that I've worked with Raja sir, Andimazhai Megam, which he didn't write the score. Uttam Singh Bombay our the score wanted it to sound like like in the 60s kind of a feel. So it was challenging, but it was also very exciting. Regarding it being 24 reels, in those days, the reels were, it's not like today, it is not only 2, it is, we had to see it again and again. So if there is a song there and there's some more scenes to be patched, in the sense we used to do in schedules. So we'll keep that reel in 400 feet reel, I mean, those kind of things would have piled up. Otherwise, I don't see how it could be that, See, I'll tell you, the screenplay has one issue. This issue has one structure. The childhood portion is the childhood portion. Okay, that we shot in the end, so we didn't have anything. There's not a single frame in that is not there in the film, I think. So everything is there. And from childhood to he becomes an adult till his marriage, through the policeman and the contractor, that becomes a chunk. And after that, the 2 kids are born, and the wife and the outside dons come in till the wife's death. That becomes a chunk. And then when the boy and the girl are grown, their conflict and the girl leaves, that becomes another part. And the final chapter is there. So in these, there's no way that you can take one scene from here and take it to another. The film can't be assembled in the editing room. This film had, the sense that we worked only 2-3 months on script before we had to roll for the film. So there was possibly, in each stage, there was probably 1 sequence or 2 sequences which would have been more. And the one thing that I distinctly remember is that the interval point that we had on paper got shifted a little, to accommodate. But other than that, it is only, within that phase we had to reduce. For example, we possibly had a sequence where, Nayakan goes back to the warehouse to that lady and says that I want to take her out for the whole day. How much? What is the cost? He had sequence which doesn't find itself, but he brings her out, and that is when he gets married to her. So we had to skip, and the final edit, that portion was skipped and brought it directly here. Those kind of things would have happened. And probably something bigger also in the later part, when, the kids have grown and things like that. There was a sequence, I remember, where there was a conflict within his team, Vel Nayakal's team, between the Iyer and Selva, Janakaraj's character, of their next generation. So there was a conflict which he had to solve, and that brought a divide that made Selva go away, which is why the son takes over and gets into trouble. So there was a logic to the entire thing, and we had to reduce that. Those kind of, it would be only chunks that would have gone, sequences that have gone within each phase, but it's impossible to mix the flow of the film. This by definition, it had that order. It was difficult only because, like he says, it was not digital editing. So we had to be careful when we remove and replace it. But it was more or less what we would have done normally, Gautham, what you would do it on paper by doing another draft. We didn't have the luxury, so we had to do it on film.
The audience already knows that this is a man, he may be doing bad things, but he's doing it for a good reason, right? You've already shown the audience that. What made you say, I want the character to question himself? Like, why did you want that question to be posed, Neenga nallavara kettavara, when the audience already knows, you kettadu pannirkalam, but he's done it for a good reason?
I told you I had issues with the writing. This is a question that I had in me, in the sense that when I was in Bombay, when I felt that people are, thinking of him as a protector, it's just a conflict. I mean, there's one on this side, one on that side. How does it coexist? Only because we had a voice through a child, we could convert it into very simplistic fashion. So it still doesn't have an answer. It's still relevant to me, to most people. There are shades of both in each of us.
Shakti's funeral sequence, which a year later when the national awards were announced, that was a clip that was played because Kamal sir won the best actor and all that. And I know even amongst the 10th standard students at that time, and I was one of them, there was a discussion with the Rajini fans and the Kamal fans saying, "Ile konja overa pannirkaru," and then we all would say, "No, it's perfect, it's bang on," and all that. So while that scene was being filmed, how did you judge that, in a very wrong term, meter that I want to ask you about? So that Kamal sir, I know I've worked on a film with him, and to go and ask him for a second take, it takes some time to go and ask him itself, because I don't know what he might think if I ask him for a second take. You had a different equation with him. But how was it to handle that meter of that scene? Was it right?
See, as we were writing, that entire block has got, back-to-back sequences, in the sense where he comes to know that his son is dead. He sees the son that is dead. He goes for the funeral. Then he comes back and there's a conflict with the daughter. Those come back. So we had to get that graph right. We needed to, between the actor and the director, we needed to work on where we peak, where we taper. So when I'd gone and said he was doing this makeup, and I remember even today that I was telling him this scene where he sees the body and things like that. And there in his house, in front of the mirror with the bulb still burning, half makeup, he did exactly this.
Wow.
Exactly this. Like a rehearsal, sir, for you? No, that's what came to him naturally. So it was there, right? There's nothing. That was just a moment which was perfect, and we didn't have to ask any question. We know where the peak was, So, and when we were shooting with him, I realized that as a director, sometimes when you have a fantastic actor, all you have to do is just be invisible. Just be there and capture him. I didn't have to go top angle, create drama, don't want to do track and trolley. Nothing. I just had to hold on to him and capture him as he went. It was a revelation to me. I knew that, with this is the only best way to get it across. It's not difficult to, especially when you've just got into films and you're coming up, you're not too shy going and asking for anything, you just tell if you need more. He'll need a reason, and he'll understand the reason very quickly. Like, for example, like I told you, when he was doing that sequence in the brothel with the girl doing that action, and I told him, not that. And I told him that music is going to come. I'm going to do it as a set of trolley. He understood it without, anything. So it's very easy to talk to him because he's almost a filmmaker at that time. So he understands all your issues, so it was not difficult.
You just spoke about how there are 3 time periods, and discussed with Ilayaraja that this is this time period, this is which is why, the music came about. What kind of instructions or discussions did you have with the other two pillars of the film, which are Totatarni and especially PC Shriram?
Yeah, PC, it was, we did tests, you know, because it was very easy to go in the conventional sepia tone period looking thing. So we tried a few tests, and one more strange thing happened. When the project came in being, like I was telling you, September it was there, and he gave dates. Kamal sir gave 3 days in December. Okay, 3 days of shooting. I said, I'm not ready. How can I shoot? I'm now just halfway through the thing. He says, use the 3 days as a test. I mean, I was shocked. Here I was coming from Mauna Ragam with hardly any money in it. So he said, do it. We'll do 3 get-ups. All the 3 get-ups, you do one scene and use it as this one. And then, you don't use it in the film, it's okay. But we'll start from January. Once he came back from the film festival, he said he'll start the film. So we did these 3 days of shooting, and those 3 days become a test for the look of the film also with PC. So we did 3 age groups, and that was the first time he took his mush off also, and we shot that age, younger age also in the end. With PC, it was like an evolving thing. He first made a decision saying, in this film, we will not use HMI. We will not go into that cold look. We started shooting, and the first day of shooting, after 9 o'clock, he says, can you have the HMI? So it's like that, I mean, you try to take a decision, then you realize that decision is not, the right one, and then you're ready to course correct and find a path. And I think it's kind of tied in. We also had this terrific art director who was giving you, frames, who was giving you a period, properties, and costumes were done. So to a large extent, I think the feel came through. And with somebody like PC, it's so easy to, just let him enhance it.
How did the decision to do the high contrast come about?
I think we are built that way. I mean, I think we like the high contrast. But the fact is that the framing wise, we right in the early stage of the film, we decided that we will get that frame within a frame. If you look at the sequences where that small boy comes to Vapa's hut, and when his friend brings him, the hut is dark. It is seen through the doorway when he's brought from inside. And somewhere like that set the tone for when we took that shot from a crane from a window to a door, and where he came in, we knew that we getting a style for the film. And then, when there is a sequence between Velu and his sister, when Vapa is dead, there were 2 huge pillars, and we just placed them right in between the 2. So it kind of squeezed and just concentrated on the emotion. Then it becomes, it becomes a part of the narrative.
படத்தோட தொடக்கத்தில் ஒரு நக்சல் லீடரை கொலை பண்ணுறாங்க. அவரோட பையன் அந்த போலீஸ் ஆஃபீஸரை கத்தியில் குத்திட்டு தப்பிச்சு ஓடுறான். The film starts. Why did you think that this story should have that beginning? ஒரு நக்சல் லீடர், அவருடைய பையன், அவன் he ends up becoming a don. அது இல்லாமல் கூட இந்த கதையை சொல்லியிருக்கலாம்னு உங்களுக்கு எப்பயாவது தோணியிருக்கா? ஆர் அந்த முதல் 5 நிமிஷம் எப்படி இந்த ஃபில்மை செட் பண்ணுச்சு, அந்த ஃபில்மை எப்படி சப்போர்ட் பண்ணுச்சு அப்படின்னு நீங்கள் ஃபீல் பண்ணீங்க அப்போது அந்த எழுதின நேரத்தில் அல்லது படம் பண்ண டைமில்?
I think that was the start that we were looking for, something which will trigger off. Because you have a character, you need to know where he comes from. Maybe a bit of it is from real life, that a stab and a runaway could have been from real life. But the reason why we placed him as a Naxal, not a Naxal, a trade union leader, basically, because at that point of time, there were a lot of union issues that were happening in and around Tamil Nadu. A lot of factories were on strike, the unions were, there were a lot of stories that are being written about it and things like that. But the basic concept could have been, I'm assuming now, could have been that somebody who was a leader who was trying to do things for others, gets wrongly convicted, I mean, wrongly shot at, and a kid reacts from that. And he ends up doing exactly the same thing. Only taking few steps, not being just radio leader, but getting on to underworld. But the foundation is, there. The father was trying to do something correct for people whom he cared for, and he couldn't do it fully. So it's carried on.
You keep talking about lots of times recently about how you want to make a songless film, and then Rahman or somebody gives you like great songs, and then you feel like using those songs. Did you ever consider making Nayagan without a song?
Ilayaraja was there. Why will I not use the songs? No, at that point of time it was not. I mean, the fact that we didn't need Kamal to sing in the film was good enough for us. That character, didn't have to really, come down, sing and dance. That liberated us enough. And then I like songs. I mean, I like songs. I like watching songs. I like shooting songs. It's a different thing. It gives you a liberty which the drama never gives you. But as long as it's not compulsory to have songs, then you use it to your advantage.
When are you making the sequel to Nayagan, sir?
Waiting for you to write it and give it.
Again, another silly question. இப்போது நான் சொல்கிறேன், என்ன மாதிரி இன்னும் நிறைய பேர் சொல்கிறாங்க, நாயகன் தான் வந்து நாங்கள் சினிமா எடுக்கணுன்ற ஆசையை கொடுத்துச்சு, சினிமாவுக்கு வர்றதுக்கு நாயகன் தான் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷனாக இருந்துச்சு நிறைய பேர் சொல்கிறாங்க. வென் யூ ஸ்டார்டட் மேக்கிங் த ஃபில்ம் ஆர் ஆஃப்டர் ஃபினிஷிங் த ஃபில்ம், இந்த படத்தை பார்த்ததுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு 15 வருஷம் 20 வருஷம் 30 வருஷம் கழித்து இந்த படத்தை இப்படி பேசுவாங்க அப்படின்னு நீங்கள் நினச்சிருக்கிறீங்களா? அப்போ அந்த டைமில் உங்களுக்கு தோணுச்சா அந்த மாதிரி? அண்ட் இன்னொன்று, ஐவ் ஹர்ட் சம் பீப்புள் சே தட் நாயகன் வாஸ் டிட் ஓகே, லைக் ஆவரேஜாக போச்சு பாக்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸ் கலெக்ஷன் ஆவரேஜாக இருந்துச்சு. அது கூட வந்த இன்னொரு படம் ஐ திங்க் மனிதன், அது நிறைய கலெக்ட் பண்ணுச்சு அப்படின்லாம் சொல்லி நான் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன். ஐ டோன்ட் நோ அது எவ்வளோ உண்மை எவ்வளோ பொய்ன்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. ஆனால் இஃப் தட் ஹட் பீன் த கேஸ், வாட் வாஸ் இன் யுவர் மைண்ட்? இதுவும் அந்த இது முன்னாடி கேட்ட கொஸ்டினோட தொடர்புடையது தான். அந்த டைமில் வந்து அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு தோணியிருக்கா? சரி, ஓகே, மை ஃபில்ம் வில் ஸ்டாண்ட் த டெஸ்ட் ஆஃப் டைம், அந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு தோணியிருக்கா?
All of us, when we are growing up, something triggers you into the next stage. It has nothing to do with that particular film, but it is you who is ready and who is looking for a reason to jump that. So it just becomes a catalyst. So when Nayagan, somebody says that Nayagan was a reason, I had few in mind. And similarly, I'm very sure that, the next generation will have Gauthams, Vetris, Balas, everybody, Selvas, everybody's film would have been the trigger point for them. So that will keep happening. It's more to do with the aspiring directors finding their, medium, finding their language. So you can't take it too seriously. It will happen again and again and again. When Nayagan released, it was successful. We were very, very happy with the film, that it did very well. I can't ask for more. Yes, I think, Manidan released along with it. Manidan did far better, which is fine with us. I mean, I didn't come into this film industry saying that I will make something which is the most successful. That is not why we are here in this. We are here because we want to do a kind of things, and we want to do it within the commercial framework. As long as it satisfies both, you're very happy. It will keep happening. There will be other films. There will be, comic book films which will really do fantastic business. But that it's still important to have Vetri's film doing very well, Gautham's film doing very well. So that is, if that balance is there, then it's fine.
So like the film itself, sir, you yourself have stood the test of time, so to speak. Like, I showed this film to my son just to figure out if he got it like I did, and he said it really worked for him. He did have a few questions about the songs and the score and why does it sound like this as opposed to the music today and all that. He's 19, but it really worked for him. And then I was thinking I should ask you, like the film itself, you have stood the test of time. Your films are look forward to the whole process and everything. Is there any advice you can dole out, sir, so for all of us also to last the test of time, so to speak?
I'm sure you'll last longer, Gautam. Don't worry about it.
You're just kind, sir.
I think there have been people before, there have been people who have been in 80s and 90s and still directing films. So as long as your desire is there, as long as I feel that I still haven't cracked it, I still attempting, if that is still there, wanting to do another one, I think then you go on.
Another way of asking the same question is, how do you, whether it's a hit or an average performer or a flop, or you keep going, what is it that keeps you going? Like you said, the desire to make the next one. How do you put it behind you and say, I have to go ahead and not look back?
See, I started my career with my first 4 films not doing well. So I'm well trained in accepting not doing well. The films that do well, the trick is not to take it too seriously. It's done well, very happy about it. It just gives you more lease, one more chance to make films, and you go. I try my best to do one film completely different from the previous, so that, I minimize the chance of repeating myself and get into unknown areas so that you can discover something new. Even if you're saying the same emotion, but it'll come out in a different form. So that is the only thing that I try as a method to keep myself fresh.
So finally, the most original question of the evening. Do you have a script for Kamal Hassan, and when do we see you with Kamal next?
Script for Kamal Hassan is a huge task, he's done everything, and unless I have something really special, better to offer, how can I go and stand in front of him? I'm hoping one of these guys will give me a script that I can get
Are you
out.
saying in 35 years you haven't found one subject that would be right for him?
No, we've talked about it a few times, but I think it should be something special. So we just both feel you can't do a film for the sake of doing, with him. So, and he's so capable, and so unless you're able to find another dimension, you can't just go to him. No, he deserves better.
Like Gautam said, we wanted to talk about 35 years of Nayagan, and this turned out to be a bit of a workshop. So thank you so much for your time, sir. And it's like real pleasure to have discussed this with you. So
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's an absolute honor. Thank you so much, sir.
I only wish Kamal was here. I only wish Tarni, PC, all of them were there. Kamal especially, I miss him now.
yeah, thanks everyone.